Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for September's Layer 7 office hours. We are recording this session as always, and it will be available later today or early tomorrow morning up on our community site. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Aaron for quick intros and take it away, Aaron.
Hey, thanks, Bill. So thanks for joining this office hours or watching the recording. This month we are going to have a session by Jascha from EnableU. And for those of you that don't know, EnableU have been a Layer 7 partner for a long, long time. They went through the Broadcom acquisition and the CA acquisition. They were actually a partner before I even joined Layer 7 13 years ago. So a key partner, and Jascha is going to talk about some of the success they've had and how the flexibility and extensible capabilities of the gateway have helped them have great success in Europe and in particular with some of the local government in Netherlands. I won't steal any more of your thunder, Jascha. I will hand over, and thank you very much for presenting this month.
Yeah, absolutely, of course, no problem. I cannot see my screen. I'm assuming that everybody can see my screen in the right way.
It looks great.
All right, cool. Let me just start with a small introduction of myself. I am CTO within EnableU. I'm responsible for our products and all our solutions that we are doing. And Aaron asked me to tell you guys something about how we use Layer 7 in a very good way, mainly in the main government and the local government within EnableU. But also we are a Layer 7 customer ourselves, and I will share some information about it, how we use it, and how it contributes to the Dutch citizens and the Dutch government. So EnableU is an integration company. Sorry guys, I got a lot of attentions messages within. So we are an integration company. We make integrations, and we do that with several tools. And Broadcom Layer 7 is one of the main tools we are using. It's a really good product about API gateway, API management. That, of course, you all guys know. But we also do some integration with Boom and Adeptia. That are the main products that we work with. We do that with for 70% of the business in the government. And at this moment we are about 110 people big. So, like Aaron said, I'm now within EnableU for 16 years, and we started a long time ago with Layer 7. So, what is it and how we use it and how does it appeal to the market and the way we are going through it. So first of all, let me start with of course what is the added value that we see, but mainly also for the local government. Of course it's a good product, and it has all the API security standards available that were necessary. But looking also to the citizens and to the local governments, it's also privacy and highly secured messages that we are going to send between the governments, between the cities, between the provinces. So it's really a good way to secure the open data that is available. And what we have done and what we see is that we also use it for instance, in the time of Corona, where the gateway was one of the secure gateways for our citizen login to the Corona test portal and also the test results. So you can imagine what a high load of calls we got on the gateways with a nice cluster, and we keep it alive, and it all went very well. So it's not only flexible and good, but absolutely robust, which was really a success. After looking also at the ongoing developments in the government, it also fits with the standards that we see. And in the Netherlands, there are API design rules stated, which were the standard API rules that we have to cope with. And also Layer 7 fits in very well. So we really have a product that that's proven and that can be put in the market in a really good way. So what we added on that is that we looked at the product itself, but also our experience and our things that we see added to it. So we started with some city of Den Haag is a big city. And once you have a good client, there is no competition within the government. So what we also say, we are closed source on the license, but we are open source on the policies that are running into it. It's also a sense of urgency within the governments. Okay, let's share, and that also helped us with getting more touch on the ground with all those things that we developed. After that, we also developed our own, and that's where the section is, and an ebMS module. ebXML is one of the standards within the Dutch government to securely transmit messages between organizations in a secure way over the internet. So that is something that we have focused on and built our own module within the gateway for that. Besides that, we also developed an identification module for the Dutch citizens and the Dutch companies to do business with each other, and so that is also available within the gateway. And we see a lot of traction on that. So like Aaron said, we started to work with Layer 7 in 2006. And like I said, after the first city that we successfully implemented it, we started to work on this ebXML module because it was then an obligation to work with that standard within the local government to transmit messages, to transfer messages within the trading partners. So once we started with that, we added more cities, and once that occurred, then it was more like a fast implementation, and it worked very well to also onboard new customers in a new way. After that, we started to work on the identification module. So citizens then can come to web forms, identify themselves, and that all goes through the Layer 7 gateway. So we added some new customers on that to have those two modules combined, also with, of course, all the other aspects and the functionalities of the gateway itself. So then we started to work on a new V2 version of the model, where we added a user portal on it, so that people of the company, the people that work with, and not with the gateway itself, but more the functional management side of it, also have an own portal, so they don't have to use the policy manager to add new connections to it. And I will show you that later on in the presentation. Yeah, so after that, in the upcoming years, we tried to work hard on all those implementations, and I think it is a really good product and successful within the Dutch market. So what is this ebMS standard that is chosen by the central government to use and also have it as a standard? So we have to comply on it, on that standard. So like I said, ebXML or and it's a message service which is based on a framework, and that framework is also standardized. So this also has German certification, but it really is written down how this protocol works and how you have to define your messages, your acknowledgement, and all that kind of things. So it should work with the interoperability between the systems and the organizations, and that works very well. It is not only a standard protocol that is designed, because there are also new protocols like AS4, what's coming next to it, but it also has a very good layer on message security. So not only does it TLS or encryption of the sessions, but it also has digital signatures. It also has authentication mechanism, and it's also possible to encrypt the data with certificates. And then once it's over to the trading partner, they can decrypt it. So it got a lot of message security functionality within it. It's also reliable, and that is one of the key things that works very nice and very well. Once a trading partner or another city is not available, it retries itself, and it has a protocol, and I will define that in a moment, where you can define how often you retry it, in which order you retry it, and how the error handling works. So this is really, once implemented, you don't really have to often look into it, because itself look for the retries and error handling. So that's very nice. Also, the communication. You can say, I want to send my messages directly, or I want to send them in a message order. So there is also some patterns that you can configure in the way to work with that. And that all has to be with, are the messages small, or are the messages with attachments in it. So, like I said, those attachments, it's not only related to XML. You can also send JSON, or you can also send a PDF or within this protocol. So, of course, that will be then be in a base 64 part, or something else. But the protocol itself doesn't limit on what you are sending. I think that's good. Mostly we see XML or JSON, but yeah, other things are possible also. Well, based on the protocol itself, it has header information, and that is where, for example, an integration layer can be helpful to know based on yeah, some headers, where some messages from specific trading parts has to go to. Now, error handling I already said. It also has a nice connection test mechanism, I call it. By implementing the connection to your trading partner or to another central government, we can send a ping and I get a pong back, and then I know that the connection is secure and is in order, but I don't send any messages. So we can test production environment just by sending those little messages for seeing if the connection is really in order. And the basis of all those configuration is the CPA. It's a small contract. It's in XML form, where it says who am I, where can I be reached, the URL, which certificates, public certificates I'm using, and also how many retries do I want, in what order do I want them, what happens if the retry mechanism doesn't work, or the retries are being sent and that all get in errors. So that contract is something that we import in the module, and also the trading partner import that, and then you are really set up, and you can do your ping pong test, for example, to see if those connections are up and running. So that is something about the protocol itself. How did we build that protocol in the gateway? And what you see in here are mainly the central and local governments that are having information, or when the citizen transfers to another city, then that are the messages that are being sent. Building permits and all that kind of things are the messages that are now being sent through the network within the local governments to specific parties where the backend applications has to deal with those messages. So if a central government sends a building permit, it gets in the inbound receiver service that we exposed within from the gateway. It will be sent into the database to do the logging and all that kind of things. and then it will be put out based on the headers on to the backend application where it has to be. On the other side, the backend application can also send messages through the REST servers stuff. Yeah, that's more or less like a standard unified format within the government, or we do have other protocols. It gets into the backend server based on some information. It says, okay, we look into it with the scheduler and say, let's go to the other party. So this is mainly the mechanism that is working within the gateway. We also has developed a government API where we build our own web user interface on. So it has also a GUI page where someone from the organization can log into to see all those messages. So this is in basis what we have built. Like I said, the CPA is the basis. So this is more like the model. And here you can see what is going on into the gateway, what it all uses to set up the profile for a specific trading partner, which can also be not only a local government, but also a transport company. And I think in Australia, this protocol is being used within the local transport environment. So looking at that, this is the format that we put into the message into the gateway, and then it will set up those connections. So what we then build are a really lot of fragments and I think really complex policies to support on that. So like I said, the sender fragment that is going to look into the database and see what information is in it, and it will define on specific parameters where it has to go and put it into the sender message. And then it will also be based on the CPA, it will be encrypted by the certificates that are in the certificate store, and some other information that we can add on it. So that is not only what it has, but it also has some schedulers, mainly because of the really high load that we are having. For example, when the moment in February when the taxes are being kept on all those buildings in the Netherlands, we see a high load. So we have to schedule that load also where the database does not read right. It is at the same time where also the old messages has to be cleaned up. So that is also being one of the really big things that's important for the big amount of for the big amount of messages that has been sent. On the other side, you see there really a lot of work, but a lot of all those policies just in order to get those things done. Also, what we done, like I said, is to build the GUI, which is like a web page, and we imported that in the VM in the gateway where it resides, and it only has it only uses APIs. So we defined all the functionalities within the ebXML module, all on APIs. So the GUI just calls APIs and transfers and shows how the messages are going through the gateway. So you don't have to be in the policy manager to import your CPA or to see how things are going. This GUI is like in this way. So this is I made some screenshots, but this is what someone sees who's responsible for transferring the messages within the organization. So like I said, you don't have to log into the API gateway to manage and configure all the connections that you see. So yeah, like I said, these are all based on API calls into the gateway, and see how many contracts do I have to other parties where I have to connections with, and to transfer messages with. There's also an overview on the amount of messages that has been sent and that has been acknowledged to the trading partner. So you got a clear overview of all the data that is going through the gateway with your own dashboarding, and also for the monitoring part. So, for example, what we also do is to have some variables and some mappings into to see where specific messages has to go to. So if a message comes from party A and we have to do it to send it to a back office C, then we also can have a form of a routing that is being necessary to transform the messages into the specific format. So yeah, like I said, there are also some things that that you can switch on and off, which then uses that functionality that has been built into the specific policies in the gateway. Also having some overview and data which is collected in the database. So the database is really important. In our environment, we do it in a clustered environment. So we get a lot of data in it. And if some messages also being are in a fault status, on an error status, and they are also being sent, for example, 5 times, because that is in the contract that we resend them. You also have the possibilities to resend them in a later way when the trading partner is up again. So it also has some functionality to put manual triggers on resending messages if necessary, or forwarding them if a back office application is not available or was not available, because that is also the most difficult part. Back offices yeah, are also APIs, and yeah, if something goes wrong on that, then we don't have that collaboration protocol agreement where messages are being sent, because that's mostly synchronous data transfer or messages. So from that side, there is also the possibility to configure some gateway settings, where you can configure yeah, when you want to delete the payload, if a message is successful as being transferred. I really want to have that at as low as possible, because once a message is successful sent, then I really want to have it out of my environment. And but you can also decide to keep it someone's longer, for maybe for testing or something like that. But mostly you don't do that in the production environment. What's more, yeah, there's also a possibility to have notifications, and I think that's an important thing. If not one messages go wrong, but if the 25 goes wrong, I really would like to have a notification. So that are the things that that we can configure also in the module, on top of the gateway. So it's also have a more information where you can look into the database where that message is being stored. It also has some information on the message header, and here you see also the ID from the party that's being sent, the role that I have, and the acknowledgement. So it gives them a lot of information on where the messages was sent to. It's also possible to download the payload that's being sent. In this example, it was an XML file. You can also download it, see into it, what maybe being wrong. And you have also the error details on something that's going wrong. So it's got an whole user interface of all the messages that that are being sent. Yeah, I put it on the table because, like I said, we built that module, and I think we are in a stage that is really doing well because we don't have to work a lot on it anymore, and I think it really suits the standards that ebXML has. I'm just curious where in the world maybe it can be used also. So I'm not going to put it as an open source product on Git or something like that. But if you have interest in the module, I'm really prepared to share the information on how it works, or have sent the install package, because we have an install package. We do release management on it. So if updates come, we can also send them to the customers. So yeah, if you have if you are interested into it and you see possibilities, let me know. That's no problem. I'm not sure if there are any questions, but maybe we can do that also afterwards. That's no problem from my side.
Jascha, there's
yeah.
one, and it says, is it a good idea to manage a UI on the Layer 7
gateway? I'm not sure if I understand the question well, but the UI that we built is mainly just an HTML page which setups and do the API calls to the gateway that we defined. So it is more or less running into the gateway, because we send it also with updates, and it also has the possibility to update the portal itself. So from my perspective, and also from the customer perspective, it is running in the gateway, although we build it besides. I'm not sure if that's right answer to the question.
I think you answered it how I would, right? Because we actually have a OTK manager, right? It runs in the same way. That's a UI. So I think there's some benefits, right? It's a one solution. It fits in one deployable image, the appliance, whatever you do. So from that perspective, it's a real benefit. Of course, you could go too far, right? You could try and run an entire website on it, and that would be too much. But I think where the use cases like ours in OTK and like yours with your solution here, I think it makes sense, because you're just deploying it to one place, and it's only bringing value from the APIs and the data that are in the gateway. So hopefully that answers that question. If it doesn't, I'm sure Aniket will send us more chat. But yeah, that was the only question so far, Jascha.
All right, thanks. Yeah, well, from the other perspective, I will come into it. And not only do we sell this or install it at customers, but we are also using the API gateway ourselves. It's more or less like eating your own dog food, because we are really confident in the product. But we have built an integration platform ourselves, which we sell managed integrations. So we don't want to have the customer. It's integration like a black box, and we are using also the API gateway for that. So in this example, this is the managed integration platform. It's in the data center within the Netherlands due to the privacy. I'd see also that Azure is now coming up, and it's more or less like they are thinking about moving that also to that part. But we install it in our own data center with all the complexity, of course, with it. But what we do is that we also use Layer 7 ourselves in clusters, divided for ebXML messages, also for APIs, and also for the identifying part. So where we build the identifying part this is where the citizens come in. They do want to have transactions to some other parties, and then we transfer it. But we also, once messages come in, like a message box, then we also have the capability of transforming, not only transforming, but also get enrich information. So we get information from other parties and put it into and send it to our customers, where we also like to install as much as gateways as possible. But from that perspective, what I would like to say is that we are using this ebMS module ourselves, not only within the gateway, but also a lot of other APIs from the central government, also from the Chamber of Commerce, from some provinces. So it's really a really important aspect of our managed integration platform. We are also now looking into the possibility of moving to Kubernetes. So this is really a movement that we are now going through. I think we have the first Helm charts installed with the gateway, and we have to now see into how this ebXML functionality still works, because you can then scale up and scale down if the times get or the load gets really high. So that are the things that we are now also looking into to make the next steps. I saw another question coming.
Yep, we had login service UI deployed in Layer 7, and it troubled us for years due to management of various dependencies on Ajax, JavaScript, etc. I see you use it for gateway metrics like precision monitoring. So is it safe to build UI to populate gateway-related stuff, but not so much for custom UI build? Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fairly good. It was a follow-up to the first question, Josh. I think, I mean, I've built myself, demos and services to customers. So I built a simple web page many years ago that basically displayed and let you edit and change some of the cluster-wide properties, similar to what you were doing there with changing the email settings and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think if you're building a UI to help maybe business users change some variables or features or configuration on the gateway, I think that's definitely a good use case. If you are getting into dependencies across not only the gateway but other services, then I think that's maybe where you would want a UI to not necessarily be on a gateway. I think it's a case-by-case basis, but I think what you've said there, if it's gateway related stuff, I think it's pretty safe to do unless you're going crazy with dynamic pages and JavaScript and that kind of stuff. But I think if it's gateway stuff, you're probably safe to do it. If not, you should take it on a case-by-case basis, depending on how complex your pages are getting.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Maybe it's also good to add what we also made is a CI/CD pipeline via Jenkins. If we have new features or want to update the policies, we do that now via the RESTman API, and we're also looking now into the Grafman possibility, because it's really efficient, and we looked into it several times, but we also have to transform our CI/CD pipeline and the possibilities to do new releases and updates. But the possibilities it has and the speed is really good. So we're also looking into it to use that. What else can I say that besides that we are the customer and we also do the reselling to the governments? It's also something that is now popping up in the educational sector. Like I said, what I really like is the possibility to say we are closed source on the license. You need a license, you need the tooling, you need the things, but you can share all those policies that are being built by a specific school or university. So it is something that really works. The side effect is that it are not really big enterprises where you can sell 60 or 70 gateways once. So we have to do it with more customers, or selling less gateways. But that's the fact that that being in the government or in the educational sector. happily, we also have energy partners or in the telecom, which we also support with higher and bigger amounts of gateways, and we're also doing there the Kubernetes installations. So yeah, it's a really exploring time with all those new possibilities that we are facing at this moment. So that is more or less the story that I wanted to tell on how we used a specific protocol and we created our own a module on it, and like I said, it really helps us also by selling the gateway because we support this standard. I'm just curious if there are any questions at this moment.
Yeah, we can definitely, if anyone wants to come off mute and ask a question or put it in the chat, and I think that's their options. Nothing at the moment, Jascha. I think it's really interesting, how you presented that. The market analysts, etc., have really talked about API management in the last few years, right? And enable use relationship with the layer 7 gateway was way before API management was really even a term. And I think it just shows what you've shown there is that our solution is way more powerful than a simple API gateway, right? You've built an entire solution with everything on it. And I think that's really cool. I think what Enable You have got from that is, the reuse of what you've built and the value that you can drop it into so many of those different customers, right? Like you, I wish some of those were bigger. But of course, we actually have the same story in some of our federal and US government customers. They're just a little less, they're a little less keen to share their story on a forum like this. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us, because I think it's important to know that API management is one thing. The layer 7 API gateway is a very different thing. It's got a lot more power, flexibility, customization options that you've shown really well there. So I appreciate you taking the time to do the call today.
Yeah.
Any questions from anybody? Okay. Then one thing I did want to say, Jascha, we were talking about it before everyone joined. As you know, and hopefully the people on the call know, the layer 7 gateway is available to run in containers, Kubernetes, but it's also a key part of our roadmap and where we're going. So we have a workshop next week with some of our partners. Enable You will be at that, among other partners. And there's a lot of things coming to make that easier for you. So we have a story. We have several customers deployed with containers in very large environments, for very key events and things like that. But we are bringing a lot to the table in the next few weeks and months. So we'll be shouting about that and pushing it out there. And as you've had success with the gateway, Jascha, I hope you're part of that journey about moving to containers, because I think that's where we're starting to see people really push towards. So for everyone else, that is coming. Keep an eye out on our LinkedIn channels and the office hours and that kind of stuff, because there'll be more and more coming on things like the layer 7 operator and OTel and for logging and tracing and those kinds of things. So plenty of good things to come.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe I could share something about our road to Kubernetes, because it's really a learning curve that we also have to go through. Like I said, we have our big data center. We now have our Kubernetes clusters installed for dev, test, staging, and production. But it really costs a lot of effort to learn and to work with Kubernetes, to understand how role-based access work, to understand how namespaces are working, and what happens if an internal certificate from one namespace is being expired. Kubernetes itself is really complex, and so I made, as CTO, the decision to install that together with a partner and have our Kubernetes cluster as a managed services. So we only have to deal with the implementation of layer 7 and the way how we configure it and the way how it operates and the way how we configure the Helm charts and improve those. So yeah, it's something that I learned from the past. That yeah, also important to make your choice where you're good in it. Yeah, we have our own Kubernetes cluster now, but it's really also now managed by a partner. So where I really can rely on, and it helps me to implement faster and in a good way. So yeah, that's from my side.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Jascha. I mean, a lot of the early stuff, we've had the container gateways for several years, right? And a lot of the issues customers have had are nothing to do with the gateway. It's about, oh, we need to provide this, and Kubernetes needs to do this, or the skill to
Yeah.
build their own
Yeah.
Kubernetes cluster, right? So yeah, I think what we're trying to tackle is to make it as easy as possible, but there's always a learning curve
Yeah.
if we go into such a very different architecture and get the benefits from it. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And of course, you can have Kubernetes from Azure or AWS or something else, and you can have OpenShift and you have Kubernetes, and it all got a lot of flavors. So yeah, we are now in the position that we have to do to deal with messages for the government, the local government. So yeah, having a Kubernetes platform from Azure or whatever is not really an option for us. So we have to do it ourselves. Yeah.
okay, well, it doesn't look like there's any more questions. I think that's been been a really good session. I think the conversation afterwards been interesting, and I'm looking forward to us working together on some of that stuff for sure. I know you're not with us next week, but Remco will be there. So looking
Yeah.
forward to that. I just seen Remco on the list, so I will see you next week, Remco. And if there's nothing else, I'll thank you again for that great presentation, and let Bill stop the recording, and we will share this in the normal way that we do on communities, etc. Within a few hours.
Yep, exactly. Thank you very much. And stay tuned. In just a few hours, it'll be up on communities. And also mark your calendars for October 19th. That's our next Layer 7 office hours. And with that, thank you very much. And I hope you guys have a great day and great rest of the week.
Yes.